this is Ash, and you're watching WriterGAsh. To close out the reading rush, I wanted to do the Racing to Read book tag, so we're just gonna go into that. Okay, so first we have Warm Up, a book that stretches your mind. I had to go with A Darker Shade of Magic for this one. That book was phenomenal and it really introduced me to a kind of world that I didn't expect. I love fantasy and I read a lot of fantasy, and usually, despite them being very alternative, they have some of the similar underlyings. And the darker shade of magic just seemed very different from everything. The whole world building was amazing. There were four worlds, and it was a beautiful concept, and that really stretched my imagination. Number two, Start Line. What's a book that you started but never finished? I'm gonna go with It Ends With Us for this one. I love Colleen Hoover's work, and this was one book that I started but I just couldn't finish. As I've talked about before, there's some things I just can't read about, and while I can read about abuse, I cannot read about abuse where the one of the protagonists, in a way, is the one who is the abuser. When I'm reading a book, I one use that as an escape, and two, kind of think of myself in the character's position, and to have that mentality while reading something like this really wasn't good. Like, I couldn't sleep for days when I was reading this book, and the character was going through abuse, and that was just hard for me to read, so I just couldn't get through it and couldn't finish reading that book. Moving on to number three, A Sprint, a book you read really quickly. For this, I'm gonna go with the entire Harry Potter series. I read the entire series in 1 week. I audiobooked the whole thing when I was 15, and I read it within the span of 1 week. I read one book a day for the Harry Potter series. Speaking of that, next semester I am taking a course called Harry Potter and the Law, and I am super excited about it. We have to take two honors seminar during our time in the honors program, and last time I took the science of cooking. So we had to cook every week, and we cooked like a 4 or 5 course meal, and it was amazing. And honors program really comes up with great courses, and this one is going to be Harry Potter and the Law, and I'm super excited about it. Part of our task for this summer was to read the entire series, which I'm going to do in August because I want it to be fresh when I go back into the semester. And I loved Harry Potter, and I really, like, even though I've only read the books once, I really immersed myself into the universe. Whenever I read a book, a series, especially when it's fantasy, I go so into it. I do research on it. I'll go through all the characters' family histories. I love the fandom Wikipedias that they have, and I'll spend hours on that. I'll build a fictitious life around the characters, and that just makes me feel like I'm bonding with the characters better. With Harry Potter, back when I used to write fan fiction, I used to add Harry Potter characters in my Twilight fan fictions. I used to write so many crossovers. None of them ever went online, but I used to write Harry Potter Twilight fan fiction, so I did extensive research on the characters. But we have to learn about the Wizarding World laws and everything, and there's a book about that too. So I'm gonna buy that and read that, and it's gonna be great because who doesn't like Harry Potter? The fourth question is a marathon. What's your favorite long book? Kingdom of Ash. It's nearly 1,000 pages, and I loved it. It was such a rush, and so much happened in that book, and it was just so well paced. I breezed through that book. Like, it took me a while to get to it, but once I was in it, I was in it. Number five, Hurdles. What's a book that had ups and downs? I'm gonna interpret it as like I enjoyed it and then I slumped and something along those lines. I'm gonna go with Caraval. When I was reading Caraval for the first time, there were moments where I really liked it, and then I kind of it leveled off. And when I read it again, I loved the whole thing the whole way through. But the first time, I had waves, and just like my reading slumped through it. There were parts that were extremely high, and there were parts that were extremely low in Caraval. So even that way, they have the hurdles. Number six, Finish line. A book you were proud to finish. I'm gonna go with The Perks of Being a Wallflower for this one. I read that book during one of the booktube, I think during the 2017 booktubeathon, and it was a great book. It was a short book, but I don't really read books like that too often, so for me it was a different challenge, and I was really proud of myself when I finished that book. Gold medal. Best book you've read during a readathon. I'm gonna go with 10 Things I Hate About Pinky for this readathon. It was amazing. I'm glad I saved it for last. I love the characters, I love the story. It was really relatable for me because, in a way, like Pinky was an essence of who I feel like, and also my nickname's also Pinky, so I related with her on an extra level because of that. And yeah, it was a beautiful book. She had a torrid relationship with her mother, and I kind of sort of relate with that too. Like, oftentimes, like parents, you feel like your parents don't understand you, and your parents feel like you don't understand them, and that happens. And I feel like the book was beautifully written, and it handled all of these situations perfectly. For the last question, we have participation ribbon, and it is an underrated book that you wish got more attention. For this one, I'm gonna go with the entire In Debt series by Nora Roberts or J.D. Robb. It is a beautiful series. I love it. I've been reading it since 2017. There are like 60 books in it, and I go through phases where I'm into it and when I don't want to read it, and but every time I come back to it, I'm drawn back into it. The world is beautiful. It's set in 2060, and I love mystery books, and this is a beautiful mystery. And the characters, I like the main characters. I have a lot of issues with one of the side characters. There is just like, I've got issues with certain things in that book, but like those issues are don't really negate how great that book as a whole is. It's a beautiful mystery. It's set in a different time, and the lead is a kick-ass detective. So I'm just gonna recommend that all of you mystery lovers go read that book. And once you get into it, you just can't stop. Like, I read the first 10 books in 10 days, I feel like. It's a fantastic series, and I know 60 books is a big commitment, but do what I'm doing. Go into it whenever you feel like it. They'll always be there. You can go back in, you can read a few books, and then stop reading them. You don't have to read 60 books at a time. Anyway, so that's it for the Racing to Read tag. And I hope you guys had a wonderful readathon. And I am so excited to do it again next year. I have missed being on BookTube, and I've missed doing readathons and tags. So I feel like I have a fresh new level of energy from this week. If you guys have any suggestions of any books I should be reading, please leave them out down in the comment section. If you want to know anything about the books I've been reading during the readathon or any other books I mentioned in this video, mention it down in the comment and I'll respond with my views on them. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you guys later.